For days, the entertainment world had been in turmoil, but no one expected what happened next. When Bai Lu stepped onto that dimly lit stage, surrounded by the flashing lights of hundreds of cameras, the entire room fell silent. She looked fragile yet fierce, her trembling hands gripping the microphone as though she was holding onto the last thread of strength she had left. No one dared to breathe. Everyone knew something heavy was coming, something that would change everything. Bai Lu had been quiet for too long. Ever since Yu Menglong's sudden and tragic fall from the building, she had withdrawn from public life, staying away from the cameras, interviews, and social media. But today was different. Today, she was ready to speak. Her voice, soft and heavy with emotion, echoed through the hall as she began to speak. "I can't stay silent anymore," she said, her eyes glistening under the lights. "He didn't deserve what happened to him. None of it." The audience gasped. The words carried pain that only someone who had seen everything could express. Behind her, a large screen began to play a montage of her moments with Yu Menglong. Laughter between takes, quiet conversations in dressing rooms, the way they always shared inside jokes that no one else understood. The memories cut through the silence like waves, flooding the audience with a strange mix of sorrow and nostalgia. As the video played, Bai Lu's voice trembled. "He was more than just a co-star to me. He was a friend who carried kindness in everything he did. He believed in honesty, even when the world wasn't fair to him. And now that he's gone, people are twisting stories, spreading lies, and turning his memory into a spectacle. I won't let that happen." For a brief moment, she paused and looked down, her shoulders shaking slightly. A tear slipped down her cheek, catching the light as it fell. The silence in the room became unbearable. Even the reporters, who had come for a headline, lowered their cameras out of respect. Then she took a deep breath, straightened her posture, and continued. "I know there are things people don't want me to say," she whispered. "But if telling the truth is the only way to give him peace, then I'll do it." The crowd leaned forward, waiting, breath held. She revealed what had haunted her for weeks, that Yu Menglong had confided in her just days before the tragedy. He had been under immense pressure, facing betrayal and manipulation that no one outside his circle knew about. "He told me he was tired," she said, her voice cracking. "But he also said he wanted to fight back. He wanted justice, not sympathy." Her statement shattered hearts. Every word felt like a wound reopened, yet there was strength in her pain. Bai Lu spoke not just as a friend, but as someone carrying the weight of truth no one else was brave enough to bear. Wang was sitting in the audience, hidden behind the shadows. Cameras didn't catch him at first, but those who noticed saw his expression change. Guilt, shock, and grief mixed in his eyes. Shen Yue, who sat beside him, looked down, her lips pressed tightly, her hands clasped together. There was something unspoken in that moment, a shared silence between those who knew the truth and those who had yet to face it. Bai Lu's voice grew stronger. "He tried to fix things," she continued, "but the system crushed him. People he trusted turned their backs on him. They painted him as careless, but he was only human, a man who gave everything for his dreams." Her words became heavier with every sentence. "And to those who think silence will erase what happened, I want you to know, we remember. I remember. The world remembers." Then came the moment that no one expected. Bai Lu stepped away from the microphone, pulled out a small folded piece of paper from her coat pocket, and read the last message Yu Menglong had sent her. "Thank you for believing in me," the note said. "If the world turns against me, promise me you'll still speak the truth." By the time she finished reading, tears were streaming freely down her face. The entire room was silent. The only sound was her soft crying as she whispered, "I kept my promise, Menglong." The video that followed showed unseen footage from behind the scenes. Yu Menglong laughing, helping staff, sharing snacks with Bai Lu and Shen Yue. The purity of those moments clashed painfully with the heaviness of what followed. Fans watching the broadcast from home began flooding social media with messages, tagging Bai Lu's name, demanding that justice be served. Within minutes, the hashtag Justice for Yu Menglong began trending across every platform. Outside the hall, reporters surrounded Wang and Shen Yue as they left. Dylan refused to speak, his jaw clenched tight, his eyes fixed on the ground. Shen Yue, however, turned to the cameras and said quietly, "He didn't deserve what happened." Bai Lu was right. That one line set the internet ablaze. People began digging deeper, uncovering hidden messages, old interviews, and suspicious timelines. The story was no longer just about a tragedy, it became a movement. Back inside, Bai Lu stood alone on the stage, staring at the empty seat where Yu Menglong used to sit during rehearsals. She whispered softly, "I hope you can finally rest now." And as the lights dimmed, the audience rose to their feet, applauding through tears. It wasn't just an event, it was a reckoning, a moment that would go down in history as the day truth found its voice. The night ended with Bai Lu walking out into the rain, her face turned upward, tears mixing with the falling drops. Somewhere in the distance, a faint melody played, the same song Yu Menglong once sang between takes. She closed her eyes, whispered his name, and walked into the darkness, leaving behind a silence filled with both pain and peace. The world would never forget that night. The air inside the studio had changed completely. Reporters who once whispered in excitement were now silent, their cameras recording every trembling word that left Bai Lu's lips. The soft light caught her tear-streaked face, and for the first time, the audience saw not the actress they adored on screen, but a woman burdened by truth, loyalty, and loss. Bai Lu took a deep breath, her voice shaking as she continued. Yu Menglong was not just a co-star, he was a friend, a brother, and someone who believed in light, even when surrounded by darkness. What happened to him was not an accident, and I can no longer stay silent. The room gasped. Wang, sitting quietly at the corner of the press table, clenched his fists as she spoke. He had known bits and pieces, but not the full story that Bai Lu was now laying bare before the entire world. Shen Yue, who had been silent for most of the event, finally looked up. Her eyes met Bai Lu's, and in that brief exchange, it was clear they both carried the same guilt, the same pain. Yu Menglong's name had followed them like a shadow, a reminder of how one event had changed everything. Bai Lu continued, her voice steadier now. He reached out for help, but no one listened. He wanted to be understood, to be heard, and yet, the world turned its back. He didn't fall because he was weak. He fell because the pressure was too heavy, and no one reached out to catch him. The moment was electric, almost unbearable to watch. Every camera lens zoomed in closer as Dylan finally spoke, his tone low but firm. "I was there that night, and if I could turn back time, I would have done everything differently. None of us should have ignored the signs." Silence again. Then, Bai Lu walked off the stage, her heels echoing down the marble corridor. Outside, flashes of light followed her, but she didn't stop. The cold wind brushed against her face, carrying with it the memory of Yu Menglong's laughter, the sound that once filled every break on set. She remembered how he used to encourage everyone, telling them that success meant nothing if they lost themselves along the way. That night, Bai Lu sat by the riverside alone. Her phone kept buzzing with calls from her manager, from the studio, from journalists desperate for more. But she ignored them all. She opened a note app on her phone and began to type a message to Yu Menglong's fans, her fingers trembling as she wrote. Justice isn't just about punishment. It's about truth. It's about standing up for someone when everyone else looks away. Yu Menglong deserves peace, and the world deserves to know what really happened. Within minutes, her message went viral. The hashtag Justice for Yu Menglong climbed to the top of every trending chart. Fans reposted her words with their own tears and heartbreak. Some shared old videos of him laughing, dancing, encouraging others. The internet became a wave of emotion, not of gossip, but of unity. Back at the studio, Shen Yue joined Dylan. She looked at him with tired eyes and said softly, "She did what we couldn't." Dylan nodded, guilt washing over his face. "And now we have to make sure her voice isn't silenced." The next day, a new documentary project was announced, spearheaded by Bai Lu and funded by both Dylan and Shen Yue. It would reveal the hidden pressures, the unseen battles, and the truth about Yu Menglong's final days. It wasn't just about clearing his name anymore, it was about healing, about closure, and about never letting another story end the same way again. As Bai Lu watched the first clips of the documentary a month later, she smiled faintly through her tears. The sun was setting outside her window, casting golden light across her desk. She whispered quietly to herself, "You didn't fall, Menglong. You just taught us how to rise." And with that, she closed her eyes, the world finally hearing the truth she had carried for far too long.